Have you ever felt like your past is a shadow that refuses to leave you alone? No matter how much you try to move forward, it follows you, reminding you of the mistakes you made, the chances you wasted, the people you hurt, or the moments you regret. Maybe you've carried a label for years, the one who failed, the one who disappointed, the one who's not good enough. And even when life gives you opportunities, that label whispers louder than hope. You don't deserve this. You'll mess it up again. It's exhausting, isn't it? Waking up each day wanting to believe in a better tomorrow, but hearing yesterday's voice telling you that you can't escape. You smile in front of people, but inside you replay scenes from years ago. The breakup, the failure, the betrayal, the loss. And maybe the cruelest part is this. You start believing your past has the final word on your life. That because you fell, you can't rise. That because you broke, you can't be whole. That because you were rejected once, you'll never be chosen again. But here's the truth you may have forgotten. Your past is real, but it is not a prison. It has no right to hold your future hostage unless you give it permission. You are not the same person you were back then. You've grown, you've learned, you've survived things you once thought would destroy you. And if you're still here, breathing, listening, it means life is not done with you yet. So let's walk together. Let's look at why the past feels so heavy, and then let's discover how to finally set yourself free. Why does the past hold such power over us? Why do memories, things that happened years ago, still have the ability to choke our confidence, poison our hope, and limit our dreams? The truth is, it isn't always the event itself that keeps us stuck. It's the meaning we gave it. Think about it. You failed at something once. That failure became a memory, and the memory turned into a belief. I'm not capable. Someone rejected you. The rejection became a scar, and the scar whispered, I'm unworthy of love. You made a mistake. That mistake became a label, and the label declared, asterisk, I'll always be the person who ruined everything. The past turns into chains not because of what happened, but because of the story we keep telling ourselves about it. Let me make this real. Imagine a man who tried to start a business. It collapsed. Instead of saying, I learned something valuable, he tells himself, I'm not meant for success. 10 years later, he's still playing it safe, still stuck in a job he hates, because one chapter of failure became the whole book of his life. Or think about a woman who gave her heart to someone who betrayed her. The pain was real, but the deeper wound was the thought that followed, I can't trust anyone again. Now every relationship she enters carries the ghost of that betrayal. And maybe you have your own version of this. Something in your past that you've allowed to define you. A broken dream, a broken relationship, a broken season of your life. Here's the thing, the past cannot reach into today unless you invite it. But because we replay it in our minds, over and over, it becomes the soundtrack of our lives. That's why you might feel trapped, even when nothing outside is holding you back. Psychologists call it cognitive imprisonment. Spiritually, emotionally, it feels like being chained to a ghost. You are living in the present, but your heart and mind are still negotiating with yesterday. And the longer you live in that space, the more it steals. It robs you of courage to try again. It robs you of joy in the present moment. It robs you of hope for the future. But here's the truth you need to hear clearly. Your past only has the power you allow it to have. It can't define you unless you choose to carry it like a name tag. Yes, what happened is real. The hurt is real. The mistakes are real. But the past is not your destiny. Unless you keep dragging it into every new day, it has no authority to decide where you go next. The real problem, then, is not the past itself, but the grip it has on your thoughts. And that grip can be loosened. The question is, how? That's what we'll explore next, the path forward, and how you can begin to break free. If the past does not have to hold you hostage, then the question is, how do you step out of its shadow? How do you begin to loosen its grip and reclaim your freedom? The answer isn't in erasing your memories. You can't undo what happened. And pretending it never happened only deepens the wound. The way forward is about changing your relationship with the past. It's about seeing it differently, so that instead of being a prison, it becomes a classroom. The first shift is this: your past is a place of reference, not residence. Think of it like a map. You can glance at it to understand where you've been, but you don't live inside the map. The problem is, many of us pitch our tents in yesterday. We replay the same scenes, the same mistakes, the same betrayals. But life is not meant to be lived backward. It's meant to be lived forward. So ask yourself, am I visiting my past for wisdom, or am I living there as if it's still happening? The second shift is about the story you tell. Every event in your life has two possible interpretations, one that chains you and one that frees you. For example, a failure can mean, I'm a loser. Or it can mean, I'm someone brave enough to try, and I'll be wiser next time. The same event, two completely different stories. One pulls you down, the other lifts you up. This is why it's said, change the meaning, and you change the outcome. A practical way to begin is by asking, what did this experience teach me that I can use for my future? Maybe the failed relationship taught you boundaries. Maybe the career setback taught you resilience. Maybe the mistake taught you humility. None of those lessons excuse the pain, but they ensure the pain isn't wasted. The third shift is action. Small, consistent action. Sometimes we think we need one giant leap to escape our past, but often it's the little steps that build new momentum. Call a friend you lost touch with. Apply for that opportunity you've been too scared to chase. Take a class that excites you. These aren't dramatic moves, but they are seeds of a new story. Every small action whispers, I'm not stuck. I'm moving forward. And here's something crucial. Don't wait until you feel ready. If you wait for perfect confidence, you'll wait forever. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to move while fear is still whispering in your ear. Another important practice is forgiveness. Not just forgiving others, but also forgiving yourself. Too many people are walking around with chains of self-condemnation. You replay the words, I should have known better. I should have done better. I ruined everything. But the truth is, you can't change what you didn't know back then. You only know now because you went through it. Forgiveness is not saying it was okay. Forgiveness is saying, I won't let this moment define the rest of my life. Forgiveness is freedom. And freedom gives you the space to dream again. Finally, surround yourself with voices that lift you higher. If you keep feeding on reminders of your failures, through toxic relationships, negative environments, or even your own inner dialogue, you'll stay bound. But if you choose to place yourself in circles of encouragement, learning, and hope, your mind will begin to align with your future instead of your past. Sometimes that means reading books that inspire you. Sometimes it means listening to voices that remind you of your worth. Sometimes it means distancing yourself from people who only bring you back to your worst chapters. The point is, you can't always control what happened behind you, but you can absolutely choose what you allow around you now. Your past may have written a few chapters, but it does not have editorial control over the whole book of your life. You hold the pen today. You can decide to write a story of redemption, growth, and new beginnings. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to figure it all out at once. You just need to take the next right step. Then the next. Then the next. Step by step, you begin to notice the chains loosening. Step by step, you begin to realize, I am not who I was. I am becoming someone new. The past does not vanish, but its power fades when you stop bowing to it. And every time you choose to look forward instead of backward, you prove something incredible. Your past is not your destiny. It is just a chapter, not the whole book. and the pages ahead are still blank, waiting for you to write them with courage. Let me tell you a story. It's about a man named Daniel. He wasn't famous. He wasn't rich. He wasn't someone the world would have noticed. In fact, for most of his life, he felt invisible. When Daniel was in his early 20s, he had dreams like anyone else. He wanted to be an artist, to paint, to bring color into people's lives. But reality hit him hard. His family told him to be practical. Friends laughed when he mentioned his dream. One rejection letter after another piled up until he stopped sending his work at all. Then life delivered its blows. His father left when he needed him most. A relationship he believed would last forever ended suddenly. And then, in one reckless night, Daniel made a mistake that cost him his job. By the time he turned 30, he was broke, unemployed, and carrying a heart full of shame. He would look in the mirror and see only failure. He avoided old friends because he couldn't bear the question, "So, what are you doing with your life?" He thought, "What's the point of even trying anymore? My story is already ruined." For months, he barely left his small apartment. He lived with the ghosts of his past, the arguments, the regrets, the letters that told him he wasn't good enough. The walls seemed to whisper, "This is all you'll ever be." But one evening, while scrolling on his old phone, he stumbled on a quote that struck him. "The past is a place of learning, not a place of living." For some reason, those words lingered. He read them again and again. He couldn't explain it, but it felt like the words were speaking directly to him. That night, he pulled out a dusty sketchbook he hadn't touched in years. His hands shook as he began to draw. It was messy, clumsy, but it was something. For the first time in a long time, he felt a spark. The next day, he drew again. Then again. Soon, his small apartment was filled with sketches taped to the walls. He wasn't creating for approval anymore. He was creating to breathe. One afternoon, a neighbor stopped by. She saw his sketches and asked if he'd ever thought about sharing them online. Daniel laughed. No one would care. But she encouraged him anyway. Hesitant but desperate for something new, he posted one drawing on social media. To his surprise, people responded. "This is beautiful. This feels like my story." Strangers, people he had never met, found hope in his art. That tiny bit of encouragement lit something inside him. He kept posting. Slowly, his audience grew. It wasn't overnight success. It wasn't glamorous. But piece by piece, he rebuilt his life. The past didn't vanish. He still remembered the failures, the breakups, the shame. But something had shifted. The past no longer defined him. Instead of being chains, those memories became colors on his canvas. Every line he drew carried the story of survival. Every painting whispered, "I am still here. I am not finished." Years later, Daniel became known, not as a failure, not as the man who ruined his chances, but as the artist whose work gave people hope. His paintings hung in community centers, hospitals, and schools. People would stand in front of them and weep, because they saw their own scars reflected in his art. Daniel's life didn't turn around because of one magical moment. It turned around because he chose to believe one thought: "My past doesn't own me. I can still create something new." And that's what I want you to take from his story. You don't need the approval of everyone. You don't need to erase your mistakes. You just need to start, imperfectly, quietly, courageously. Like Daniel, your past may have shouted, "It's over." But your future is whispering, "Not yet." And sometimes, all it takes is listening to the whisper instead of the shout. So here we are, at the end of this journey together. We've looked at the pain of feeling trapped in the past. We've named the ways it tries to chain us down. We've explored how one shift in perspective can breathe life back into tired bones. And we've witnessed through Daniel's story that no matter how broken or forgotten you may feel, There is always room for redemption, always space for a new chapter. Now I want to leave you with this. Your past has no right to hold your future hostage. Think about that for a moment. Every mistake, every heartbreak, every failure, they are events, not definitions. They are lessons, not life sentences. The only power they have is the power you choose to give them. And if you can choose to dwell on them, you can also choose to release them. Your story is not finished. Right now, this very moment, you are holding the pen. You may not control everything that has happened, but you control what happens next. You control whether you replay the old tapes of regret or press record on a new beginning. I know it's not easy. Letting go rarely is. The past feels familiar even when it hurts. But growth only comes when we stop rehearsing old endings and start daring to write new beginnings. Maybe your new beginning starts with one phone call. Maybe it starts with sending one email. Maybe it starts with dusting off a dream you buried years ago. Or maybe it starts simply with a whisper to yourself, I am not done yet. Here's the truth, your future is waiting for you. It's not looking at your failures, it's looking at your courage. It's not judging your scars, it's honoring your survival. It's not interested in what broke you, but in what you choose to build from here. So walk forward, not with fear, not with shame, but with quiet determination. Carry your past as a teacher, not a prison guard. And each time doubt rises, remind yourself of this one truth. You are more than what you've been through. Because at the end of the day, it's not the past that defines you, it's the choices you make today. And today, you can choose freedom. You can choose hope. You can choose to believe that tomorrow can be brighter than yesterday. So as you step back into your life after this video, remember this. Your past is a story you've lived, but your future is a story you get to write. And the pen is in your hands.